Bem-vindo ao Deep Dumps. No Deep Dumps, nossa missão é ajudá-lo a passar nos exames de certificação com confiança. Acesse os exames de prática mais recentes, PDFs e testes online, sempre atualizados conforme os padrões reais. Com nosso material pronto para o exame, você terá os recursos certos sempre à mão. Milhares de alunos confiam no Deep Dumps, e muitos conquistam a aprovação já na primeira tentativa. Oferecemos suporte 24 de julho por e-mail ou chat ao vivo. E nossos especialistas estão prontos para esclarecer dúvidas e orientá-lo passo a passo. Baixe as perguntas e respostas em PDF. Pratique com questões de qualidade e explicações claras. E avance rumo ao sucesso garantido.
Question 1. You have an Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, tenant named Configuração, and an Azure Virtual Network named VNET1. To VNET1, you deploy an Azure Active Directory domain services, Azure AD DS, managed domain named Litware Inc. Com. To VNET1, you plan to deploy Azure Virtual Desktop Host Pool named Pool1. You need to ensure that you can deploy Windows 10 Enterprise Session hosts to Pool 1. What should you do first? Option A. Modify the settings of the Litware Inc. Com DNS zone. Option B. Modify the DNS settings of VNET1. Option C. Add a custom domain name to Configuração. Option D. Implement Azure AD Connect Cloud Sync. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Modify the DNS settings of VNET1. Question 2. You have the devices shown in the following table. You plan to deploy Azure Virtual Desktop for client access to remove virtualized apps. Which devices support the remote desktop client? Option A. Device 1 and Device 2 only. Option B. Device 1 and Device 3 only. Option C. Device 1, Device 2, and Device 3. Option D. Device 1 only. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Device 1 and Device 3 only. Question 3. You plan to deploy Azure Virtual Desktop to meet the department requirements shown in the following table. You plan to use Azure Virtual Desktop host pools with load balancing and auto-scaling. You need to recommend a host pool design that meets the requirements. The solution must minimize costs. What is the minimum number of host pools you should recommend? Option A. 1. Option B. 2. Option C. 3. Option D. 4. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option C. 3. Question 4. Your company has a main office and 2 branch offices. Each office connects directly to the internet. The router in each branch office is configured as an endpoint for the following VPNs. A VPN connection to the main office, a site-to-site VPN to Azure. The routers in each branch office have the quality of service COS rules shown in the following table. Users in the branch office report slow responses and connection errors when they attempt to connect to Azure Virtual Desktop. Resources. You need to modify the COS rules on the branch office routers to improve Azure Virtual Desktop performance. For which rule should you increase the bandwidth allocation? Option A. Rule 2. Option B. Rule 3. Option C. Rule 4. Option D. Rule 1. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Rule 3. Question 5. You plan to deploy Azure Virtual Desktop. The deployment will use existing virtual machines. You create a Azure Virtual Desktop host pool. You need to ensure that you can add the virtual machines to the host pool. What should you do first? Option A. Register the Microsoft Desktop Virtualization Provider. Option B. Generate a registration key. Option C. Run the invoke as VM run command cmd-let. Option D. Create a role assignment. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Generate a registration key. Question 6. You are designing an Azure Virtual Desktop deployment. You identify the network latency between the locations where users reside and the planned deployment. What should you use to identify the best Azure region to deploy the host pool? Option A. Azure Traffic Manager. Option B. Azure Virtual Desktop Experience Estimator. Option C. Azure Monitor for Azure Virtual Desktop. Option D. Azure Advisor. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Azure Virtual Desktop Experience Estimator. Question 7. You have an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool named Pool 1 in the East US region. You have a storage account named Storage 1 that contains FS Logix profile containers. In the East US region, you have a shared image gallery named SIG1 that contains a virtual machine image named Image1. Image1 is used to create new session hosts in Pool 1. You plan to deploy a new Azure Virtual Desktop host pool named Pool 2 to the South India region. You need to implement the session host deployment solution for Pool 2 that meets the following requirements. Image 1 must replicate in the South India region. The session hosts in Pool 2 must be based on Image 1. Changes to Image 1 must be available in the South India and East US regions. What should you include in the solution? Option A. Create a new shared image gallery named SIG2 in the South India region. Upload a copy of Image 1 to SIG2. Option B. Create a new Azure storage account named Storage 2 in the South India region. Copy Image 1 to a shared folder in Storage 2. Option C. From SIG1. Update the replication for the latest image version of Image 1. Option D. Configure Geo-Redundant Storage (GRS) replication for Storage 1. Copy the VHD file of Image 1 to the FS Logix profile container. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. From SIG1. Update the replication for the latest image version of Image 1. Question 8. Your company has 60,000 users. You plan to deploy Azure Virtual Desktop. You need to recommend a storage solution for the FS Logix profile containers. The solution must provide the highest possible IOPS and the lowest latency desktop experience. What should you recommend? Option A. Azure Data Lake Storage. Option B. Azure NetApp Files. Option C. Azure Blob Storage Premium. Option D. Azure File Standard. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Azure NetApp Files. Question 9. Your company has a single office and has 40 employees. You are planning an Azure Virtual Desktop deployment. The estimated user workloads are shown in the following table. Half the users of each workload type work from home. All the users who work from home do not establish a VPN connection to the office. Approximately how much bandwidth is needed between the office and Azure to support the planned workloads? Option A. 5 megabits per second. Option B. 55 megabits per second. Option C. 110 megabits per second. Option D. 220 megabits per second. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, 55 megabits per second. Question 10. Your network contains an on-premises Active Directory domain that syncs to an Azure Active Directory. Azure add tenant. The domain contains the domain controllers shown in the following table. The DNS servers are configured to forward requests to an external DNS service. You create a new virtual network named VNET2 that is paired to VNET1 and has gateway transit enabled. You plan to implement an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool in VNET2. The session hosts will be joined to the Active Directory domain. You need to configure DNS to meet the following requirements. Ensure that Azure Virtual Desktop users can resolve on-premises servers and Azure resources. Ensure that Azure Virtual Desktop remains operational if a DNS server fails. Minimize administrative effort. What should you configure? Option A. The DNS settings of VNET2 to use Server 2 in Server 1. Option B. The DNS settings of VNET2 to use the Azure DNS service. Option C. The DNS settings of the virtual machines to use Server 2 in Server 1. Option D. The DNS settings of the virtual machines to use the Azure DNS service. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, the DNS settings of VNET2 to use Server 2 in Server 1. Question 11. You have the Azure Virtual Desktop deployment shown in the following table. You plan to deploy a new host pool as shown in the following table. You need to ensure that you can deploy the host pool. What should you do? Option A. Add a lock to the existing host pool. Option B. Stop and deallocate one of the currently deployed virtual machines. Option C. Submit a support request for service and subscription limits. Option D. Change the proposed virtual machine size for the session hosts to default version 3. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, submit a support request for service and subscription limits. Question 12. You have an Azure subscription that contains 500 users. The users are assigned Microsoft Office 365 E1 licenses. You deploy an Azure Virtual Desktop solution that contains Windows 10 multi-session hosts and streams a custom remote app named App 1. You need to ensure that the users are licensed to stream App 1. The solution must minimize costs. Which license should you use? Option A. Microsoft 365 E5. Option B. Office 365 E3. Option C. A Remote Desktop Services RDS Client Access License CAL. Option D. Windows 10 Enterprise E3. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, Windows 10 Enterprise E3. Question 13. You have an Azure Virtual Desktop deployment that contains an Azure Compute Gallery. The Azure Compute Gallery contains an image definition named Definitions. Definitional contains the following image versions: *1, 0, *1, 1, 0, *1, 2, 0. You need to ensure that when a virtual machine is created from the Azure Compute Gallery, the 1, 0 image version is used by default. What should you do? Option A. Select Exclude from Latest for image version 1. Option B. Select Exclude from Latest for image version 1. 2. Option C. Apply a lock to image version 1. Option D. Apply a tag named Default to image version 1. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Select exclude from latest for image version 1.2.0. Question 14. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You have an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool that contains 5 session hosts. The session hosts run Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session. You need to prevent users from accessing the Internet from Azure Virtual Desktop sessions. The session hosts must be allowed to access all the required Microsoft services. Solution: you configure the RDP properties of the host pool. Does this meet the goal? Option A: yes. Option B: no. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B number. Question 15. You deploy an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool named Pool 1. You have an Azure storage account named Store 1 that stores FS Logix profile containers in a share named Profiles. You need to configure the path to the storage containers for the session hosts. Which path should you use? Option A: Store 1, Blob, Core, Windows, Net, Profiles. Option B: HTTPS. Store 1, File, Core, Windows, Net, Profiles. Option C: Store 1, File, Core, Windows, Net, Profiles. Option D: HTTPS. Store 1, Blob, Core, Windows, Net, Profiles. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C: Store 1.file.core.windows.net, Profiles. Question 16. You plan to deploy Azure Virtual Desktop Session Host virtual machines based on a pre-configured master image. The master image will be stored in a shared image gallery. You create a virtual machine named Image1 to use as the master image. You install applications and apply configuration changes to Image1. You need to ensure that the new session host virtual machines created based on Image1 have unique names and security identifiers. What should you do on Image1 before you add the image to the shared image gallery? Option A: at a command prompt, run the set computer name command. Option B: at a command prompt, run the sysprep command. Option C: from PowerShell, run the rename computer cmdlet. Option D: from the lock screen of the Windows device, perform a Windows autopilot reset. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B: at a command prompt, run the sysprep command. Question 17. You have a shared image gallery that contains the Windows 10 images shown in the following table. You create an Azure Virtual Desktop deployment that has the following settings. Host pool name, Pool 1 location, West US host pool type. Personal: which images can you use for the session hosts? Option A: Image 1 only. Option B: Image 1, Image 2, Image 3, and Image 4. Option C: Image 2 only. Option D: Image 1 and Image 2 only. Option E: Image 1 and Image 3 only. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A: Image 1 only. Question 18. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You have an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool that contains 5 session hosts. The session hosts run Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session. You need to prevent users from accessing the Internet from Azure Virtual Desktop sessions. The session hosts must be allowed to access all the required Microsoft services. Solution. You configure rules in the Network Security Group (NSG) linked to the subnet of the session hosts. Does this meet the goal? Option A. Yes. Option B. No. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Yes. Question 19. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You have an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool that contains 5 session hosts. The session hosts run Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session. You need to prevent users from accessing the Internet from Azure Virtual Desktop sessions. The session hosts must be allowed to access all the required Microsoft services. Solution. You configure the address space settings of the virtual network that contains the session hosts. Does this meet the goal? Option A. Yes. Option B. No. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B number. Question 20. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You have an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool that contains 5 session hosts. The session hosts run Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session. You need to prevent users from accessing the Internet from Azure Virtual Desktop sessions. The session hosts must be allowed to access all the required Microsoft services. Solution. You modify the IP configuration of each session host. Does this meet the goal? Option A. Yes. Option B. No. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B number. Question 21. You have an Azure Virtual Desktop host pool. The pool contains session hosts that run Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session. You connect to a remote desktop session on Pool 1 and discover an issue with the frequency of screen updates. You need to identify whether the issue related to insufficient server, network, or client resources. The solution must minimize how long it takes to identify the resource type. What should you do? Option A. From within the current session, use the Azure Virtual Desktop Experience Estimator. Option B. From Azure Cloud Shell, run the Get Us Operational Insights Workspace Usage CMD-let and specify the default profile parameter. Option C. From Azure Cloud Shell, run the Get Us WVD User Session CMD-let and specify the user session ID parameter. Option D. From within the current session, use Performance Monitor to display the values of all the remote FX graphics. Asterisk. Frames skipped. Second counters. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. From within the current session, Use Performance Monitor to display the values of all the remote FX graphics. Asterisk. Frames skipped, second counters. Question 22. You have in Azure Active Directory. Azure add. Tenant named contaso.com. You use a user account named admin1 to deploy an Azure Active Directory domain services. Azure add ds. Managed domain named aaddcontaso.com to a virtual network named vnet1. You plan to deploy an Azure Virtual Desktop Host pool named Pool1 to vnet1. You need to ensure that you can use the admin1 user account to deploy Windows 10 Enterprise Session hosts to Pool1. What should you do first? Option A. Add admin1 to the RDC administrators group of contaso.com. Option B. Assign the cloud device administrator role to admin1. Option C. Assign a Microsoft 365 Enterprise E3 license to admin1. Option D. Change the password of admin1. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Add admin1 to the RDC administrators group of contaso.com.